As I mentioned, my name is Haley Hitchcock, and I'm hosting the session today regarding our drip marketing program that we've launched over the past, it's probably been since around August that we've been using the program, and some of our clients have been using that program. So the first thing I do want to talk about is the email texting recruiting bandwagon that we're hearing about, and there's a couple of different sources out there that are really touting this type of process. For the recruiter that wants to let their applicants know within their database automatically that they've got positions that they need to fill. And the way that the email texting bandwagon works is you no longer have to call hundreds of candidates to determine their interest. Most likely, if you're already getting an application from a candidate, they're wanting to hear from you. They're wanting to get communications about available positions or information about your company overall. Most new recruiting software products already incorporate the ability for you to do individual emails, so on an individual basis. But many are behind on texting and automated emails. The reapply rates that we've looked at over the past several years are about 40 to 50% within the same month. So your advertising dollars could be spent on people who are already familiar with your company. If 40 to 50% of your reapply rate are those individuals already in line with your program, already involved with understanding your brand, then there could be some opportunities there for you to be able to use email and texting to be able to reach out to candidate populations. And then also having to comply when you are emailing or texting a specific candidate or your driver population, comply with the unsubscribe requirements of TCPA compliance. Let's talk a little bit about what is drip. So drip is a sequence of emails, text messages, or you can have a combination of both, which are automatically sent to your candidates on a pre-scheduled basis or based upon your criteria. We'll talk a little bit more about your criteria a little bit later on in the program. As applications come in, candidates can evolve through multiple campaigns, piquing their interest in your open positions and keeping your brand front and center. We are going to talk a little bit about your brand throughout this presentation. You can also use drip with retention programs. So it's not just a way to be able to reach out to your candidate population and encourage them to come back and entertain your company and entertain the positions within your company, but you can also use it to reach out to your population that's already employed with you in an automatic basis. So we did some research before we broke out into an automated email, automated texting type of process, and we looked at direct mail campaigns. The direct mail response rates over the past 9 years have dropped nearly 25%. That response rate, though, overall is an average of 1%. So I want everyone to remember that 1% as we walk through some of the statistics that we're going to see here shortly. So what we did is we took all of the campaigns that our clients are currently using and we categorized those down into a specific category. So we have those that fall into a connect category. So those are applications that have been submitted but haven't engaged in the process. So the individual hasn't really engaged with you. Stalled are they've proceeded well into the recruiting process. So they went through many statuses, and but then they went radio silent. Re-engaged is completed the recruiting process, but they haven't yet came back and reapplied with you. So these are people that have went through the process before, and you haven't heard anything from them. Maybe they didn't show up to orientation, and you want those people to come back and reapply with you. We also have the rehires, and these are individuals that were previously hired within your organization. And again, there's multiple categories that are out there, but what we did is take everybody's campaigns and we kind of categorized those for you to make it a little bit easier to understand these metrics that we're going through. So the first one that I want to talk to you about is the average messages per campaign. How many messages are our clients actually creating to what population within their campaigns? So you can see from this slide, we've got the rehires, the re-engaged, the sold candidates, and the connect, and where they're at in that process. So how many messages is actually set up within a specific campaign to reach out to that target audience. Here's the response rate. Now remember I said pay attention to that direct mail response rate of 1%. Here's what we're finding based on, again, real data from real clients when we go through this particular process. You're showing some of those, are closer to the 1%. But then we've added an additional field in here, and that's Connect IntelliApp, listed right here in this particular section, nearing 15%. And what that specifically is, so Connect means, again, that they've submitted an application. So that could be a lead app, a partial app, it could be something like that. Connect IntelliApp means that they were interested enough to come in and complete a full IntelliApp, but you were still unable to connect with that particular candidate. Look at that number that's come out there. That's 15% of people who were really interested in your company, filled out a full IntelliApp, and then they came back in through the drip campaigns. You were able to entice them to come back and look at your company again. So that's a pretty good correlation there when we're looking at that 1% direct mail response rate. Direct versus attributed. So direct are those ones. So in your messages, and we'll talk a little bit about your creatives and how you can make this work. You can put your apply now button in the actual messages, whether it's text again, or whether it is walking through, an actual email. Direct means they clicked on that link within that message. Attributed means, they might have taken a couple of days, investigated your website, went to your career page, and they put the apply now on your website. So that's why we thought it was really important to look at, does the message overall just get people to come back and apply and make an immediate decision? Or do they think a little bit about your organization first, and maybe they went to your website and you hit the apply now button from then? You can also see that attributed number is greatly increased. So for those of you who are using referrer codes, if they're actually using that specific link, you're able to track that information. But if they're not using the referrer code and they went out and looked at you and looked at the website and they clicked on an apply now, it's very difficult for you to be able to get to those numbers. And our drip campaign does help you get to those specific numbers. The average days to action. Now I want to be clear about what this specifically means. So it's the average time elapsed from the last drip message, and again, whether that's a text message or whether that's an email, to the time frame that they complete a full IntelliApp application with you. So maybe you have 3 messages within a specific campaign. They didn't reply or respond on day 1. They didn't reply to the second message on day 7, but maybe on day 14 they did. So this is kind of measuring those average days to action from the last message they received to when they're literally enticed to come back and apply with your organization. So how does drip work? So it's campaigns that are going to provide opportunities for you, that are going to generate more candidates, and I should mention qualified candidates. It then moves into a retention mode and helps you with retention, which is going to drive results for your company. And again, this is all without you doing nothing. There's no buttons to push. There's nothing to handle. Let's talk about some campaigns. It's a combination of messaging, branding, and a call to action that addresses a specific audience. That can be your candidates or your employee population. It addresses a specific need, hiring or retention. It generates interest in your company, branding. It keeps your company in front of that candidate or in front of that driver, and has the opportunity to be able to boost your referrals. It's cross-channel. You can text and email through your campaign. You can do both. You can do one or the other, or you can have a combination where it randomly selects whether they receive a text message or an email. It can be shared with others. People can forward that text. They can forward that email and try to entice others about your organization. And, most importantly, it does comply with the spam regulations. Some of the campaigns that we see driving results today are candidates who have not responded to phone calls, so you just can't get them on the phone. There's no recent contact. Driver monitoring reports. Those are people who have left your organization in good standing, and you're able to identify that they're back out on the market, and you really want to get that candidate or that driver to come back and work for you. Those individuals who are not qualified, but now they are. So your hiring requirements are 3 years of driving experience. This application only has 2 years. When they hit that 3-year mark, they're going to receive the drip campaign. Candidates that are in a specific status. So a way that you can utilize it is If you change people to a status where you're requiring information, there's an action item that you still need from that candidate at that point, then that specific status can generate a customized message out to that individual about the information that they need to call you, that they need to email things in, those types of items. Partial applications, which is also part of our continuation app, you're wanting to entice somebody to come back and complete that full Intella app rather than just having some partial information. Now, from a retention perspective, you can also do birthday wishes to existing drivers. You can do birthday wishes to your candidate population. Again, an interesting concept, keeping your brand in front of people by sending them a birthday wish when they don't even work for you. Milestones. So if you track and tagging any of accidents, so they've had no accidents or they've hit 500,000 miles, you get the gist. Then we can pull that tag into the campaign queries and make sure that people are receiving notification about how important that milestone was to your organization. Several of our clients are also hiring military, so we want to make sure that you also have the opportunity to memorialize that veteran status by sending out a Happy Veterans Day to those that are tracked within your tags or within your application who might have been former military. Getting started, so what we do is we help you define the campaigns. You will work directly with me. So I will help you to decide what kind of campaigns, what your goals, what your objectives are. We give you a couple of examples listed here. In step 2, we kind of decide what the timing of the message or messages are. You can have one message go out. You can have several messages go out. We'll also look at the event conditions. Maybe they have to be in a certain status. Maybe they have to have a tag of saying that they're rehirable. Maybe there's something within the application, such as their employment, that we need to pull in and make sure that they're meeting those conditions. The next step is defining the actual messages and for which intervals. So do we want something to go out upon receipt? Do we want something to go out 7, 14, and 21 days later? Do we want those messages to be different? Or do we simply want to work with just one campaign and have multiple messages? Now I'm going to show you briefly what the system looks like. All of the recruiters will have access to a communications view where their application view is today. That will show them which messages have been sent, which campaign they were involved in, the date that it was sent, and they'll also have a preview option to be able to see what message actually went out to that individual. So if this individual happened to receive 4 different messages, there would be 4 different listings listed under this particular view. You also have the ability to unsubscribe, and so does your candidate. When your candidate gets a copy via their smartphone, and these are smartphone friendly, so they do confer to the smartphone device that they're using, or their email, they do have the ability to unsubscribe. Something that's federally regulated from that perspective. You also have the opportunity to unsubscribe people yourself. They opt in to texting when they're completing an application. There is a button out there that they can opt in to texting. By way of completing the application, they're also opting in via email. You can hit the unsubscribe button should they contact you and say, I don't want to be a part of this anymore, and they haven't seen the unsubscribe button in their own feature. Texting, we'll talk a little bit about that later, but what this will do is it will enable you to be able to text straight from Express and reach out to that individual once they've completed an application and they've opted in for texting. So you can sit there and text back and forth, and again, we'll show you some of that a little bit later on. For those of you that are managing the marketing program, you'll have access to a new tool called Drip Marketing. It'll have a summary page, and what this will do is break down each of your campaigns into a summary view. You'll also have access into where those people have moved through the statuses. So this is a new and reapply campaign, is what this client happens to be targeting, and it shows where people are in the process. So you can see there was one person that was not interested, so they're probably not going to move forward, but you have several in process that are moving through the population. You'll also have a configuration tool. This is where all of your campaigns will be housed. Again, all will help you develop those campaigns in your creative. You'll be able to see the different types of drops or messages that you have available, whether you're emailing or texting. You also have the ability to update your subject, your email subject, or your texting subject. You can turn your campaigns on and off. You can see who was already provided in your query if you hit the targeted drivers and you hit the show button. And then you also have the ability to preview your creative. Now below these editing tools, you'll be able to see all of the information built into your creative. You can edit those email or text messages anytime that you like. A great example is if you're sending out information about your bonus plan and the dollar amount changes each week, you'll be able to come in here and change those dollar amounts or change something within your creative. So you can see we're using a little bit of code here, so we can pull in the subject name, we can pull in the recruiter's name, phone number, email address, all automatically. And the creatives and the text messages will look like they're coming from that unique individual recruiter. You also have the ability to preview the creative. So if you went ahead and made a change in the creative, or you just want to see what it looks like, you can send the actual creative to yourself, and you can put pictures in it, you can put links to your website, you can put links to your YouTube videos. All of that will show up, and they'll look like these really pretty HTML emails that go out. You'll also have a tool section which will launch some advanced reports. So it'll help you start to measure the success of your campaigns. And here's an example of that. Here's a couple of campaigns that are showing out. The staged is the number of emails that went out. The converted is the number of IAs completed, meaning they literally came back in and completed a full Intella app. We've got a 5% conversion rate for 312 in our new and reapplied. That's within a month's time frame. So 312 candidates came back and reapplied and met your conditions for reapplying during that particular month without anybody pushing anything or touching any button. Now, you get more qualified drivers faster than ever before. So for those of you who know about Intella app now, or you know about our testing program that we're starting, I'm just going to briefly show you a couple of slides, and then we're going straight into questions and answers. So it covers the entire employment life cycle, or the candidate life cycle. So the candidate completes an application with you. You can initiate IA Now, which is an immediate pop-up within your screen that lets you then be able to start communicating with that candidate and making sure that your competitor isn't getting the opportunity for him to start an application elsewhere. Because we've added text messaging to the program, you can then start communicating directly via text messages if they've opted in. If they're non-responsive or they seem to go quiet, you might then have a drip campaign that automatically picks them up without you doing anything and starts communicating via text message or email with that candidate directly. Once they come back in and reapply, and again, if they're meeting your hiring criteria, IA Now starts all over again, determines those qualified candidates, lets you go through that process. So it's all about texting, and this source is the staffing stream. More and more candidates are proving that their preferred form of communication is text messaging. Text messaging communication is where it's at. So this is a screenshot of you being enabled to text message with your candidate back and forth within Express. We do memorialize all of the messages. We give you, again, the ability to send that text message. And the items, again, are always memorialized. It's giving you that instant connection. And it's also showing how tech-savvy your organization is. I mentioned IA Now. So IA Now immediately, it's an immediate contact on the ideal candidate who meets your hiring criteria. So when they're completing the application, it's going to show them these little buttons that walk through, that is pending. We might be able to get in contact with you immediately. Then we can have your video play about your organization while they're waiting. To the recruiter, they're going to get real-time notification that that individual meets your specific requirement, and for you to go ahead and pick up the phone and give that person a call. We also want you to be aware that 10th Street just wants to make it even easier for you. We just launched a mobile app, both in the iPhone store and for Droid devices. And what this will enable you to do is if you're using the text messaging program and you're using IA Now, after hours, when you step away from your desk on weekends, it still enables you to be able to do those text messages, reach out to that candidate who's meeting your qualifications immediately, and then it does give you some express functionality for you to be able to do your job from your Android phone or your tablet or actually from your iPhone as well. I just want you guys to be aware of that. It's ready, go out there and join. All you need to do is look for 10 straight. Again, it works great for after hours. It works great for all kinds of items where you need to step away from your desk but still stay connected.